Hello and welcome along to WD18, the Watford fan channel with Charlie Zazera, myself, Jacob Coleshaw, back again the day after the game before it finished. Birmingham City 2, Watford 1 at St Andrews. Both of us were watching from home, obviously on the Monday night kickoff, the late Monday night kickoff, live on Sky Sports. Sam Yuko was there. We've kind of got his thoughts and feelings. He's not on here today, but we've kind of got a sense of what Sam thought of the game. We're going to be discussing it all here today. So let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, how you saw it, what you agree or disagree with anything that we say here today. Charlie, about 24 hours on almost from yesterday's defeat, and I'm kind of coming away from it with this weird contrast between, some real positive signs, but then at the same time, there were elements of this Watford performance that just really frustrate you and are quite avoidable. Firstly, how are you? And two, how did you feel coming away from the game yesterday?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks. Yeah, similar feelings to you, really. I think with 24 hours that's been passed and even having a look at the games that we've got coming up ahead, I'm a bit more optimistic and positive than I was on the final whistle. And to be honest, I wasn't expecting anything from the game. Birmingham going into that had scored 4 in their previous 3 games. I think you bravely went for a draw as a prediction. I think Sam might have hit the money with a 2-1 and I went 2-0. But Birmingham a good side. They were better than I thought they were going to be, which maybe that pays as a compliment. I thought their centre-halves they didn't give us a sniff. We put quite a few, not too many balls in, but they got balled up everything, dealt with Doumbia and Kurumgor pretty well. And look, they've got players like Tommy Doyle, Patrick Roberts, who always seems to do well against us. So they've got good players. Their lad up front from Werder Bremen, Dux, is it? Everyone's been raving about him. Stansfield as well. Obviously did really well for the England under 21s. And he's exactly the kind of player I think Watford need. That number 10 who's brilliant out of possession. And he was really good on the night. So I wasn't really expecting anything going in, but just as the game panned out, obviously the 2 goals, which we'll talk about, cheap in my opinion, and I thought we played well, like performance wise, but with Watford it just seems this season if we decide to call the title of the video, just seems like we're not clicking at the moment. And I think when you think about having Irankunda, Vata, Bar all out injured, Georgie just coming back as well, for the side that we put out, Tom Ince on the right, I think the performance was good, just a bad result.
No, agreed. I almost felt like yesterday was a little bit of a microcosm of Watford this season, actually, where there's some spells where you watch us and you think, wow, we've got even the goal, it's a really good bit of football for the goal. It's well worked. There's real nice patterns. And then we sort of let ourselves down in the first third and the final third, really. But I guess there's probably questions to ask about the second third as well yesterday. So look, we'll get into that. We'll touch on Preston as well, because we didn't do a video after that one. And then maybe just a bit of transfer chat as well about potential players that we could come in. Then obviously looking ahead to Norwich at home on Saturday. Do you know what, Charlie? While we're talking about Birmingham, let's start with Birmingham, because that's what most people will be sort of thinking about. They won't be thinking about Preston, which, on the whole was a decent point probably in the circumstances, and meant that Watford came into this 5 unbeaten, 2 wins, 3 draws. And I think we all knew the task ahead going away to Birmingham. Chris Davies Birmingham, who is obviously a Watford lad. I think they were saying on commentary that his whole family support Watford, which is quite rare to come up against someone like that. And also I think his idol was Tommy Mooney. So it was a real
Watford head coach.
Potentially, whisper it quietly. And look, do you know what? Let me get the lineup up that Watford put out. It was Nathan Baxter in goal, a back 4 of Ngakia, Caben, Pollock and Bowler. Ince on the right who came in, Loser and Kipriano as a 2, with Mama on the left, and then Doumbia and Kurumgor leading the line as a 2 up top. Now, for me, Charlie, I have to say, I'm not a huge fan of playing 2 up top away from home. This is without the performance of the result anyway. I feel like we lose a little bit in the midfield when we go away, and we need to get a bit more on the ball. And I think you need a lot from your strikers. And if they don't maybe hold the ball up or get enough service, it does mean that the other team can overload you in that area. And if you can see on the screen that Birmingham went with the 4-2-3-1, Stansfield just dropping into that 10. And I guess you'd argue that Doumbia does do that role. But when you look at that lineup in general, were you happy with that lineup? And what did you make of it?
Do you know what? I was pretty positive about the lineup going into it, and I actually thought none of this was on Javi. Like, I liked it. If you look at this compared to Preston, I think the only change was Kayembe coming in on the right for Tom Ince, which is pretty like for like. I don't think either of them covered themselves in glory for the Preston game. It seems like a while ago that now. I didn't think Ince did much yesterday. And I actually thought the way we approached the game in terms of Birmingham, Chris Davis, he's very much possession style football, trying to build up through the thirds. And I thought, I haven't looked at the stats, but we were going, nah, we're not having none of that. A lot of direct balls, especially from Baxter. The problem is we couldn't really make it stick and we couldn't play off those. And I think that game against Middlesbrough at home, I think that's when we saw Doumbia and Kurumgor, correct me if I'm wrong, but that just felt like the one game where like we can play 4-4-2. We've got those two strikers, they can work. I don't think it has worked since with those two guys. I've always said I think this squad is suited to a 4-2-3-1 as well. But I think the actual approach of kind of going longer instead of kind of build up, especially with the weather conditions yesterday, it was absolutely pouring down. And I think I put a message in the group saying just the way the ball's travelling, building up, if we got our press right, there could be a chance for high turnovers and we can kind of nick it from them when they're trying to build up. And I didn't actually hate the strategy of going a bit more direct, but the problem is Doumbia and Kurumgor, I just think got dominated by their two centre halves and they were too big and powerful for them. And I think that just goes down to a profile thing. What's the average age of Doumbia, Kurumgor? 20, 21? I think it's a big ask to go up against those two big boys.
Yeah, agreed. It's a weird one, this Watford team. And as I said, we were going into this with a pretty decent record on the grass here. And I think if you had said to him before the night, would you take a point? I think he would have snapped your hand off it for it. And yet, the two goals we conceded, which we'll get into, are really soft goals and really avoidable goals that you almost end up thinking, oh, we could have probably got a point on another day had we not done those individual errors. Having said that, we could have easily been 3-0 down. If you actually look at some of the chances, I think Birmingham had a really good chance at 2-0 to make it 3, just at the start of the second half. There's obviously talk about whether Cipriano should have been sent off as well. I just think this Watford team is an interesting one because we have some unbelievably good midfield talent, particularly out wide as well. But the strikers yesterday were pretty anonymous. Whether that's down to the service, I'm not too sure. But there's just a bit of an imbalance. You know, I look at even the right side yesterday. Kaben and Ngakia didn't really look too sure. But then I look onto the left-hand side and Mama and Bola were linking up really, really well. It was like on the left, we looked great. On the right, it looked a little bit unbalanced. And I think the midfield probably had a little bit of an off day. And you could tell Luz was trying to make it happen and trying to make things tick. I don't know where we really want to start in terms of the game, Charlie. Do we want to do the 2 goals? Because I actually thought for the first 20, Watford came out well.
Yeah, definitely. I thought we came out well. We showed intent. Like Mama looked really bright, and I think we should focus him on a bit. But it all changed on 30 minutes with this goal. Jacob, where do you think their strike is? It Peck or Peck? Where do you think this is kind of, he's robbed it of Cipriano probably too cheaply here, probably taking a stride, but where do you think he takes the shot off?
He takes it. If I remember correctly, where do you think? On the edge of the D on the 18-yard box.
Yeah, so look at our defenders here and look where he is. And you're right, he takes it on the edge of the D. I just don't know how the lads, they've obviously been distracted by kind of these runners and they're not engaging with the man at all. And he's just, how he's got that much room to go all of that way is pretty criminal, to be honest. He's literally had about 5 seconds there to just stroll up to the goal and hit a clean strike. But I know those two strikers are kind of either side of them, but Ngakia, Kaben should be engaging. If Pollock's looking, it's criminal defending. It's poor, to be honest. Did you agree, or am I being a bit harsh?
No, I agree. I actually want to take it a little bit earlier on. I know we've only got the 2 screenshots there, but I think it's really poor from Cipriano. You cannot be losing the ball at that point in the pitch. I actually didn't really like the reaction from him either. He sort of looked at Doumbia to say it's your fault, and it wasn't Dumbia's fault at all. He'd laid the ball off him. Granted, with not a lot of pace, but if Cipriano was a little bit quicker getting the ball at his feet, that wouldn't have even happened. Wasn't a fan of the reaction. And then when I look at it from here, as you say, you've got the 4 there. Bolu's sort of engaging with the 2 runners. So he's occupied. Pollock's then looking at the striker in front of Pike. So he's got his man. Then it's between Caben and Ngakia, right? You've got Stansfield to the left-hand side. Who's going to take him? And Stansfield, if we drift it on, Charlie, to the next one, you see Stansfield pulling out. So that's Ngakia's man. So really, for me, it's on Caben to take responsibility there and close your man and get out. And to allow him to progress the ball, 10, 15 yards up the pitch without any pressure. It's a great finish, but I mean, we say that in the Premier League, you can't do that. You can't do that in the Championship against a quality team like Birmingham as well.
Just on Kevin Caben, one thought, he goes from looking like a Rolls Royce to looking like a Ford Fiesta or something within minutes sometimes. Sometimes the way he can really be composed when defending and muscle people out and make it look easy. And sometimes I just think he looks really scatty. I don't think he's had a stronger season, and he had kind of at the back end of last season. Sam put a comment about Matty and Caben. I think we shouldn't go too overboard in terms of those. Sam said he wanted to change. And then we've got Max Elaine, we've got Banquist sitting on the bench, Formers Mendy, who's coming in as well as the top defensive target. What are you thinking with the defensive 2 at the moment, and who would you? We can always talk about Norwich, but what would you make a change?
Well, foremost, Mendy's not even in the matchday squad.
Again, yeah.
I mean, what is going on there? I mean, you've got to ask the question, like, where is he? I mean, obviously the line was he was our number 1 target, but to not be in the matchday squad at this stage, I mean, his only starts been Millwall away when he played right back or right wing back?
Wing back. Yeah, but like, whose fault was it? Like, it's probably the squad building, because I think Max Elaine's been class when he's played. Like, he's probably thinking I deserve a chance. I really like Abankwah. I think he's got the highest ceiling out of maybe not Elaine, and he's made a couple of silly decisions getting sent off. So, but Caben has looked good, and I don't hate like being consistent with our centre backs. And I think when you take Matty out of the team, we start conceding really cheap. We struggle with our box defending. That's what we saw at Coventry away, I think. So, yeah, put it on you. What change would you make for Norwich?
I agree. For me, Abankwah, when he's at his best, is probably our best centre half. I really like Abankwah, but probably it's a little bit hot and cold when he is playing. I wonder if there's a thing to say about, because of the formation change, the fact we played 2 up top and 2 traditional strikers, it meant that Cipriano doesn't drop deep. And I wonder just the added extra protection for the back 2, where he can go into a 3 and it means losers there and there's an extra midfielder. But because Cipriano was a bit higher, it kind of left, I don't know, because we played a midfield 2, the 2 centre-backs were more exposed. And I just wonder whether that played a part in it. And in terms of the 2 centre-backs, for me, I really liked Pollard and Abankwah. When they're at their best, I think there's a really nice balance between the 2. I think Elaine's good in the back 3. But then you're right, in a weird way, I almost like, and this is going to sound a bit crazy, but I see real similarities between someone like Konate and Caben, not in terms of the quality, but in terms of like when Konate is at his best, he looks like a world beater. And when he's having an off day, he looks absolutely terrible. And I almost think with Caben, there's like such a big gap between his best and his worst. Mm-hmm. And I just think that the problem is because we're playing so much football, you know, what is it, 12:30 on Saturday, we're back again. There's almost a part of you which thinks, does Abankwah come back in because he's the best at driving with the ball into midfield? And I do think the problem with the 2 centre-backs that we have at the minute is, as you say, probably in box terms, they're fine. I actually think Caben should have put his head in the way for the Gray goal, but maybe that's a bit harsh. And maybe he didn't see it. But he just, when I watched the replay, I was like, surely he's got to put a head on it, because their lads in the free kick put his head on the wall and got knocked out. Maybe it was because it happened quite quickly after each other. My point is that I do feel like Abankwah and Pollock has the best balance, because Pollock isn't as good as Abankwah on the ball, but they complement each other quite well in the sense that Abankwah's great at driving with it, his range of passing, but Pollock's good in the air with the tackles and stuff like that. And I do feel like that's the best balance. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a really tough one, because I don't want to write Caben off, not at all, because like you said, he's probably got a bit of a mixture when he's on his game, as good progressing the ball and good at box defending, but he's just not really consistent enough. And when you do have that talent on the bench, I mean, let's have it right. We've probably built the squad for 3 at the back, which I don't know if Pezzolano's had an involvement in. But when we've signed a Banquer again, Elaine on loan, then Formas Mendy as well. Again, it just goes down to the poor squad building. So I don't think it's a bad problem to have. I'd probably agree and just freshen things up and keep Cabell on his toes. And I'll probably leave him out of this one and go Abankwah and Pollock versus Norwich.
I wanted to talk about Hector Cipriano, Charlie. We mentioned him there for the goal. And that was, I mean, we have to be honest, I don't like singling out players, but that was his worst performance in a Watford shirt so far. And he set the bar really high. And I think he'd admit he was nowhere near the levels we've seen before. I saw him getting some criticism online for his performance yesterday. I personally think if you play him, you have to play a 10 in front and you say, Hector, you just sit back and you marshal that bit just in front of the back four. It felt like his role was he was supposed to be that sort of all-action midfielder, which I don't think he is. I think he's more of that sort of defensive anchor that allows Loser to go forward and releases the more creative players for me. But I wanted to ask you firstly about his performance, then we'll get into the red card shouts because I saw that flying around. That was actually before the first goal as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's a red card. I know he's kind of gone with his studs up, but there was no force in it. I think he got the ball, then he catches the guy's knee, doesn't he? But yeah, for me, not a red card, but maybe in the body game. You like the old rule book, getting it out. You have a proper understanding than me. You'll be able to reel out the rules.
I think if it was the other way around, I'd want a red for that.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Game's gone.
I'll tell you why, Charlie. I think had VAR been involved in that game, the referee would have been advised to go and have a look at that on the screen. And we all know what that happens. And maybe some would say, well, that's the VAR. I do believe if that was in the Prem, that would have gone to VAR. And I think what hasn't helped him is the contact, the height of the contact and the fact it's on his knee. He would argue he's got the ball, but the ball gets played onto him and then the follow-through is quite high.
Yeah, but Jacob, that's in you've seen that on Sky on the slow-mo replay. Do you know what I mean? Football, when it's played in fast-paced, not every tackle that looks as bad as it is. Some people were saying that they didn't think Caicedo's was a red card. I think that's different because his leg was planted and it's over the top of his ankle. But some people are saying, in the pace of the game, it's not. But
do you reckon if that had gone to VAR, Charlie, that wouldn't have been a sending off?
Yeah, but I'm enjoying living in a VAR league at the moment. So it doesn't really matter. But on Hector, I just think he was our best player at the start of the season. And I think ever since he got dropped out the side, he hasn't been the same player. It's kind of knocked his confidence. And like you were talking about, when you're playing in the two-man midfield, you need to have really good quality. And I feel like he loses it. He's not as obviously he doesn't look. Most players next to Loser in this league won't look as good, but I've seen him dispossessed quite a few times. And when we think of former players who've done really well for Javi in that system, a Capu and a Decorah, they're both pretty top level, both out of possession and in possession. I really like Hector. I think he's perfect in a 4-2-3-1, but you just need that. You need that number 10 doing defensive work and coming back. And I think we've seen it. Maybe was it Derby away when Kayembe did that? That just kind of bulks up that midfield a bit more. And again, I'll say it again, I don't hate 4-4-2. And I think against some teams who might not be as dominant defensively, it can work and it can allow us to be a bit more direct or a good plan B. But I just think our squad is tailor-made for a 4-2-3-1, despite all the defenders, despite everything we just said about the defenders.
No, I agree, Charlie. And I think when you look at our bench yesterday, I have to say I was surprised he didn't start Kayembe. And I know Kayembe is a bit of a Marmite figure within the Watford fan base because some people see real value in him. Some people say he shouldn't be starting for us. I do think when he came on, you saw a level of mobility in that midfield that we weren't having before. And even just the way he was moving it, doing the simple things really well. But I wonder when you're away from home at Birmingham and really you're thinking keep it as tight for as long as possible. See if we can nick one at some point, or I just felt there was a difference when he came on, and I just wonder if we had played him in the 10. I know this is sort of revisionism or like sort of hindsight, but in the 10 behind the Kurumgor, like we did at Derby. I know we were 2-0 down, but I do feel like that would have been the right move. But some would say you're only saying that because it's after the game and whatnot. But Anyway, yeah, on Hector, let's know what you think in the comment section below. I think there's probably an argument to say, do you rest him? I thought he looked a bit leggy last night as well. And I just felt that midfield, there was a massive gap in that midfield. And that sort of leads on to the second goal, Charlie, where it starts on the left-hand side. There's a gaping hole in the middle of the pitch, just on the centre circle. And if I remember correctly, the ball kind of works its way out. And we just kind of let Damari Gray come into the 18-yard box, and no one really gets tight. And I think it's against Pollock. And I think we texted at the time going, he has to get out to him there. I mean, it's a great strike. It's a great finish. But it felt avoidable from where the move started to where the move finished. How did you see that one?
Yeah, I think it's a catalogue of mistakes. I think you could go back to probably the phase before when I think we had a corner and there seems to be a bounce. Oh, it was our free kick on the edge of the box. Like you mentioned before, one of the Birmingham players takes it in the face and kind of goes down. Then there's a bouncing ball between Stansford and Ngakia. That becomes a bit of a tussle and a bit of a contentious point. And then from that, I think Mama gave it away quite cheaply. And then we were just exposed defensively. I can't remember. Caben misses the first tackle, kind of goes sliding in, gets nowhere near it. Stanford pokes it next to him. And then I think Ngakia does the same, really. Whether both of them, I think, were just poor defending. And then, yeah, if you watch it back again, I just thought Matty gave him too much time to go into the box and have that shot. I'd like to see him get out to him quicker. But so, yeah, how many players were in there? 4? That is that 4. So having... Because I thought at that point, how we set up and how we were playing, we were actually quite well, but just those individual errors cost us. So for me, it was definitely an individual error problem instead of like a shape problem. Whereas when I remember the Preston game, they really overloaded the midfield and they were just popping it through us. And I think that was more of a tactics thing. I know we got back into that game, but yeah, I think yesterday was more frustrating because we gave away cheap goals. But then again, you look at Birmingham fans and some of their players are saying two stunners. And I don't know what the XG, they did beat us in the XG battle, but they are 2 decent goals. But from our perspective, they were avoidable.
I think also, Charlie, when you look at the chances we conceded, let's not forget, Baxter made a really good save at 0-0 to his left-hand side. He's been solid, by the way, since he's come in. I think he's kind of gone under the radar. When you have a second choice keeper,
yeah, I was worried about their first corner though. He didn't look like he
didn't look comfortable. And then obviously we had the Ngakia pass that didn't manage to make its way to Cipriano, and they should have really capitalised on that as well. So I think sort of my takeaway, just on a wider point anyway, I know we talked about that goal separately. It just felt like last night the defensive fragility of this squad sort of let us down a little bit. And you know, we played. I don't want this to be all doom and gloom because we played some really nice stuff at times. I thought. I wanted to touch on Othmane Mama, but you know we've got him for what 350 grand from Montpellier, and bearing in mind he played some League One football at like 17, 18, you'd think he's you'd think he's worth a couple of million just for that. But I feel like we've got an absolute steal there, Charlie, because he's so bright on the ball, and there's that element of rawness to him. You know, the element times where you're like, why are you playing a flick here or why are you making a run there? But I actually quite like that because I think he's quite fearless as a footballer. And he looked so bright yesterday. What was it about his performance that you enjoyed? Because we were texting going, this guy's looking bright.
Yeah, I think I got it massively wrong. I saw him coming on against Bristol City, and I thought, oh, he's a bit lightweight. I think it might be a bit too early for him. He might need some time. Not one bit of it. Started against Preston, and he was outstanding, taking on his men. What I like about him is he can go either way, which is very rare for a winger. Normally they're like a Rashford cutting on his right, or like a Salah or something like that, but he can go both ways. He's like, for a player of his age and to come in to the team kind of halfway in the season after being abroad for the Under-20 World Cup, to have the influence, like I think he was probably our biggest attacking outlet yesterday. Do you know what I mean? Having shots, driving at people. His link up with Bowler was really, really nice. There's a couple of finer details where he could have made better decisions or better passes. Obviously got his first goal. I'm really, really excited about him. And it's like, you're looking now at our winger depth. It's absolutely crazy, from Mamadou, Georgie, Vata, Bar, Irankunda. It's absolutely mad. So if ever we getting them all fit at once, no players are going to be unhappy. But yeah, what a lovely welcome addition, and I'm really excited to see where he can go. I can't imagine he's going to be at Watford in the next 5 years' time, but then again, you never know. Game time, it's going to be an interesting one. And he reminds me, and obviously this is a huge pipe, but like when Cristiano Ronaldo first came to Man United, that rawness, but the fearlessness, he definitely has. And yeah, that's my big thing. I think I like about him the most is he can play either left or right, whereas someone like Bar, Iran Kunda, I don't think can. Maybe Vata. So fair play to him. He's got the shirt at the moment. He's probably one of the first names in the team sheet where no one would have guessed that at the start of the season.
Agreed. He actually reminds me of a very similar technique to Samir Nasri. That's the nearest sort of comparison.
Looks like him as well, don't he, profile-wise? Like.
Yeah, it's weird, like the body shape, the technique. I really like him. I think we've and credit to Watford, they've picked up another gem there. They've got a knack of doing it. They've obviously looked at his stats, the underlying stats. They've gone, he's not playing a lot of football at Montpellier. I think his contract situation was running out, and they've poached. I think they've poached a gem there. And I think we all kind of knew we had a player when he's getting the under-20 player of the tournament. That doesn't happen often. I think the last time we got excited about a player in the under-20s was probably Peñaranda when he was with Venezuela. So he started a lot better than he did at Watford. Don't know where he is these days, by the way. He talks about the winger options. We must say that obviously Iran Kunda wasn't in the match they scored yesterday. He's flown back to Australia because of personal reasons. The club released before the start of the game last night. Bar's injured, Vata's injured. It meant that we didn't have a lot of attacking options off the bench, which was rare for us this season. Chatfadazzi came on, and you instantly saw an uplift in our attacking creativity, Charlie. Have made 3 subs at 60 minutes? Kiembe, Chatfadazzi, and Mamadou. And the goal, you touched upon it there, but it sort of starts with Georgie. It works out to the left-hand side. Lovely weighted ball to Bowler. Doesn't have to break stride. I thought Bowler, by the way, I think he's gone under the radar as probably our signing of the season so far for me. I really think that because he's giving us a 7 out of 10 every single week. And I think in the Championship, we've kind of craved that at left back. We've really missed someone like that. Good ball across the box, and Mamadou did well to keep it down on his weaker foot. But the link up with Georgie as well, Charlie, you immediately saw the impact and the way he wanted to get onto the ball. And I guess the question for you would be, when do you start him? At what point is it right to start Georgie? Because clearly they're managing when he comes back here.
Yeah, for me, I'd start him against Norwich. I think he's got some minutes now. I was a bit worried yesterday, especially with the weather conditions. I was like, you don't want to get his studs stuck in the turf or anything like that. But I thought he looked really comfortable when he came on. He was flicking it over defenders' legs who were slide tackling. His weight pass was good. I thought he looked really bright when he started, and I don't know if they kind of doubled up on him a bit, but he didn't get too much joy after that. But yeah, he just looks like normal Georgie. Obviously, we've only seen kind of 2 cameos, but I just think this Norwich game on Saturday is massive for us. If we're serious about doing anything this season, we need to get back to winning ways. We've got Sheffield Wednesday in the week, which, no disrespect, arguably we should be beating them and maybe use the squad a bit more. But I'd like to see Georgie from the start because we need our best players playing. It's such a big game. So the question is, Jacob, for you, where does Georgie start?
Yeah, I think we need to start Georgie. I do agree. I think he's come off the bench twice. They're building up his minutes. He did come on with real impetus yesterday and energy, and he did sort of fizzle away slightly. You could tell that he's still getting up to speed a little bit. I think if you're going to start him, you do it in that 4-2-3-1. I still stand by that. I think in that number 10 where he can roam out wide, but his main role is centrally. Ultimately, that's where we want Georgie picking up the ball. And in that respect, I would have to drop either Doumbia or Kurumgur. I would probably drop Doumbia. But then at the same breath, we're playing 2 inverted wingers here. We're not getting any crosses into the box, which is an issue for us. And we're relying on really Bowler, the only player out wide who is delivering for us at the minute. His first thought when he gets out wide is to get a ball into the box. It led to the goal yesterday. But Mama's first thought is to cut inside. Ince, I don't think he'll start the weekend, but to cut inside. Bar is another one who doesn't, to be fair. But the problem is that Ngakia doesn't want to overlap, really. That's not his game. And there is maybe an argument to say, does Petrus come in at right mid? Because then just give him the license to bomb forward and get balls into the box. That's something that I've kind of thought about, Charlie. And out of possession, it can maybe go into a back 3 with Petrus and Bowler as the 2 wing backs. What do you think?
I'd have liked to see Patrice start yesterday instead of Vince. I just don't think Ince offers enough anymore whenever he starts. Have we ever seen Georgie play number 10? I don't think we have, and I think it would be quite tough for him. I don't think he's like when I watched Florian Wirtz the other day for Liverpool. I don't think he's got that ability. I think Georgie for me is more doing his best work when he's coming in off the left. I think I would rather see probably this.
Yeah, I like
that. And again, I didn't think Kayembe did too well, but I think just for ball retention, for like a threat in front of goal, ball striking, when he's got when he's higher up as a number 10, he doesn't have to be as dynamic and do as much defensive work.
I thought he was decent when he came on, though.
I don't know. Sometimes he's frustrating because he just looks like he's stiff and he's slow on the ball. But I think in attacking areas, you want him in and around the box, and he's delivered. I think I'd go with this personally for Norwich. Be interesting to see what everyone else thinks in the comments. So let us know. But yeah, I worry about Georgie in a 10, especially starting it. I don't think it would be as good. For example, like, can you imagine? Could you imagine if Georgie's in the 10, say? Can you imagine him receiving balls here with his back to goal?
No, true.
I can't see it. I want him getting it here and just driving, and whether he's going this way or that way. I may be wrong, and I'd love to see him as a 10, because if he was our 10, and if he could do kind of, I don't want to compare him to Florian Wirtz, because Wirtz has had one good game. It's just what I was recently doing some video stuff on it before, but I think this would be a safer bet. It gives Georgie a bit more freedom, less defensive responsibilities. He's comfortable there, and Kayembe might be able to hold it up and help with the midfield a bit more. This is what I'd go for personally. And to be honest, like I'd go Doumbia or Kurumgor. To be honest, I don't think we've been really harsh. I think some people have been really harsh with Kurumgor, and they often cite he doesn't do much during the game, but he's getting nothing. He's getting no surface. Like yesterday, we had 14 crosses. Our average this season has been 18 crosses a game. So the fact that we've got 2 up front, we're not crossing it near enough. Like if you're playing 4-4-2, you want to be crossing, and the only crossing outlet we've got is Bowler, really. And that kind of felt like it came in the last couple of minutes when we had a couple of crosses, and that was it. So I've said that for a couple of weeks now. We need to, if we're going to have 2 up front, we need to be crossing more, because mainly we're just relying on Bowler and Gaku, which I don't think is enough, really. So, yeah, let us know in the comments. But I think that's how I'd line up against Norwich.
I like the look of that. And I think when you look at that on paper as well, you've Charlie, Chatford on the left, because obviously Chatford cuts inside, which means Bowler can overlap on the outside. But also Mama, the amount of times when he's played on the right, I think even the Preston game, his first thought when he gets down the line is get a cross in. And I think in that respect, you would keep Kurumgor in the middle, because Kurumgor probably benefit a little bit more than that than Doumbia. And this is why I do like Kayembe. I do like him. And I know he's the sexy option by any stretch, but he's a safe pair of hands, Kayembe, more often than not. And actually, the amount of times the ball comes out onto the edge and you're sort of asking for someone really to get on the end of it. And with his ball striking, as we saw recently,
he's not shy in shooting, is he? I feel like he shoots.
I really like that.
I like that as well, yeah.
Yeah, his first thought is literally just leather the ball as hard as he can with his laces. So we've discussed who should start against Norwich. We're going to say go back to the 4-2-3-1, are we, and play a number 10 instead of 2?
Yeah, are we saying a banker over Kabenda?
I think so.
Yeah.
I wonder if that will improve in Gakia as well.
Because you've got a bit more pace.
I did feel from yesterday a little bit, because Damari Gray is one of the better wingers in this division, and he was on it for most of the night.
I still think Gakia defensively was pretty strong, but
that ball inside to Kiprianu, oh, my heart dropped at that one.
Well, I want to see more of this.
Yeah.
Anyway, by the way, if anyone wants to use this is the JLA tactics board, which James Alcott uses, and in the last couple of weeks it's gone up a level. You can see the different. It's got badges, and you can do all sorts of different pitches and stuff, and tier lists. It's really gone up. It's really gone up a next level. So Maybe you could put a little WD18 logo in there as well in the centre circle.
Use Charlie at checkout for 10% off.
#ad.
We've touched on Birmingham. Was there anything else we've missed off it? I did think when we made the 3 subs at 60, and I kind of thought, can we do one more roll of the dice? And normally we'd have Vata, Baria, and Kunda. Sissoko was the man who was brought on. And I think that probably summed up that we didn't really have any more attacking options. Abankwah, Morris, Elaine, Mendy, who hasn't really been used. A lot of people are like, where's Duomo in the picture?
Yeah, it is interesting. I'm not too sure about Mendy. Like, we haven't seen much from him. He started against Millwall, didn't he? I don't think it was his fault, but I do think Kipriano, we've seen his ceiling. We've seen how good he can be. I think him and Loser, it can work. I do think 4-2-3-1 be suited. So I'd like to persist with Hector really and get his confidence back up. I just thought, even though we were good and like on another day we could have got a better result, I think Birmingham won one of the best teams we played, personally. Like I said about their centre halves, I thought they were dominant. They won everything, didn't give us a sniff. I thought their fullbacks were pretty solid, really good centre midfielders. So I was impressed with them, and they had players like Kumas coming off the bench. So I think they're going to be in the playoff picture. So I do think there are positives to take. The fact that you've seen some of the Birmingham fans saying that we've been the best side that they've seen this season. So I don't think it's, especially the performance, that should be something we should hold on. I think we're a bit hurt because it's a loss and we've lost them undefeated. We were 5 unbeaten before that. I'm more annoyed about the Bristol City and the Preston results, really. Both 1-1 draws. You've got to get at least one win out of those two. And we'd probably be in the playoffs at that point because the league's so tight. But when I'm looking at our run now, what is it? Norwich, Sheffield Wednesday, Wrexham away, LA, which I'm going to.
And then Stoke at home.
Like, how many points do we need to get from that 4, Jacob?
Oof, we have to win Saturday, don't we? I mean, it's not a great time to play Norwich. They've been awful this season, and they got their first home win. They got their first home win against QPR. It was the first home win for Norwich in 210 days. Their first home win of the season. And obviously, we played them in the Carabao Cup, didn't we? And they played us off the park for the first 45. Papa Diallo was absolutely ripping us down the left-hand side. He's injured, actually. He won't be available. And I do think, just on a completely separate point, Philippe Clement for Norwich, that is a cracking appointment for where they found themselves in 23rd. To get a manager who's managing the Champions League, Europa League, I think I'd be amazed if they went down under him. But I was speaking to Chris Reeve at Talk Norwich City yesterday on BBC Norfolk, and they've just got a little bit of a spring in their step because of the last week. And I think it was very doom and gloom for them going into that one because they had Oxford at home, they had QPR. And to get 4 points against 2 teams who they needed to get 4 points against almost just gives them a little bit of belief. And they have been better away from home. Granted, not great all this season, but they play a 4-2-3-1 as well. And Josh Sargent normally scores against us, which is not good. So I think we do need to win Saturday. I think with our home form, I think it's only Borough, Millwall and Coventry who have a better home form than us this season. So all the signs, the only thing that does worry me a bit is the early kickoff. I just don't think we've been good in early kickoffs at home because it's the atmosphere is not as good as it normally is. We're a little bit slow out the blocks.
They've had 2 extra days recovery, haven't they?
Yeah, it's just little things like that. And you're like, okay. Anyway, then I think we need to win that. We need to win Sheffield Wednesday. Wrexham, you'd probably take a point. Stoke at home, you're going to go for a win. So, to be honest, lads, Charlie, I think we should be, like I'm speaking to the players in the change room, I think we need to be looking at 9-10 points.
I'd be happy with 9. Like, if we won 3, I'd take 1 defeat.
Is that the lowest you'd take, by the way, 9?
Wouldn't mind 8.
No, what I think the lowest for me is 2 wins and 2 draws. So what's that? 8?
Yeah, but like you look at, I think Wrexham are like 8-9 unbeaten or something. They've kind of found their feet now, and they've got the old boys in and playing very direct with, is it Kiefer Moore and Windass up front. So there's no gimmies. Stoke have been one of the better teams in the division this season. Mark Robbins, excellent coach. So it's tough. Yeah, this Norwich one, talk Norwich City boys. I watched their podcast yesterday. They've been mouthing off about Watford, saying we never beat them. So I think it'd be a massive win if we got that. If we won on Saturday going into Sheffield Wednesday, with no disrespect, we should win. If we got 6 points from the next two, I think that kind of really calms things down, and let's try and get a good result at Wrexham and go from there. And then you've got Christmas. But yeah, 8 points I'll be happy with.
Yeah, I think so. I think eight's my sort of par. Good return is anything above. Okay, minimum 7. I think we have to get minimum 7.
Yeah.
We'll see. Anyway, let us know your points predictions, but what you actually think Watford will get from the next 4: Norwich, Sheffield Wednesday, Wrexham and Stoke.
Knowing Watford, it'll probably be, we'll win on Saturday, lose against Sheffield Wednesday, win at Wrexham, and then lose against Stoke at home.
Oh, Watford. A couple of bits of Watford transfer news, by the way. A lot of stuff going around about Rocco Vata at the minute. He changed agent, and there was a few rumours flying around that Crystal Palace were interested, Fulham, I think Galatasaray were linked as well. Fabrizio Romano tweeted, I'll share the screen very, very quickly. Always sort of, your ears sort of stand up when Fabrizio tweets because you think, why is he talking about Watford? And he said that Watford's 2005...
Can your ears stand up?
Well,
is that the cliche? Can your ears stand up?
Can your ears what, is it prick up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know, with AdSense and all that, John.
You need to be careful with your line of work. You don't want to feature on the football cliches.
What, your ears stand up?
My ears perked up.
Anyway, they did something when Fabrizio tweeted that Watford's 2005 born talent Rocco Vata can be on the move in 2026 with European clubs already showing interest. Vata has signed with Storm Sports X as representatives. So that was interesting. Then a few rumours started to come out about him potentially leaving. It kind of caught me a little bit off guard, Charlie, because I was like, he's injured. He's not playing.
He's torn his hamstring. And he's also scored six goals in the Championship. I think Fabrizio's got a nice bit of coin for that tweet, so fair play. New agent. I think Rocco's got a high ceiling, massively exciting player. Looking forward to him recovering and getting back to playing for Watford, but I think he's a long way off a Premier League player yet, don't you?
I love Vata on his day. I just haven't seen it as consistently as maybe we'd all like. And that's down to injuries, down to changing in manager, down to different systems. I think a lot of it's been out of his hands, but also we can't be talking about a Premier League move until he's playing regularly for Watford's, for me. And I think the article suggested we'd valued him at £20 million. I don't know who pays that at the minute, if I'm honest. I think you're looking at maybe sort of 7, 8 for potential. Vata, fingers crossed he can get back to full fitness, but also I think he needs a run in the team, and that's ultimately, he has to be fit for that to happen. And then the other rumour that was going around, Charlie, not rumour, Luon's with a good tweet about Lovric. Obviously, he was linked with a move to us in the summer. And then Udinese's manager came out basically saying, I'm making him vice captain, and took a picture with him and all that when he was about to join, basically. And Luke just said, really appreciate the Udinese gaffer making a big fuss over Lovric coming here despite the player happy with the move. He's played 103 minutes this season and hasn't got off the bench in 7 of the last 8 games. He better be coming here in January, the most obvious transfer going. And he also went on to say things could change, of course, but from what I know, Duomo's likely to leave on a perm and Semedo is going out on loan in January. Not surprised by Duomo, Charlie. Semedo, a little bit more.
Yeah, my ears stood up when I saw that. Because if Semedo is going out on loan in January, surely that means we're bringing in a forward.
Mm.
And again, we don't know this. Things can change in football. The amount of transfers, even that Lovric, which I think we. I don't know if Adam Drury reported on it, but I think that was quite far down the line before Udinese or the manager pulled the plug. And yeah, I quickly had a look at the minutes that was shared for Udinese, as every transfer window most Watford fans do. Interesting to see Vacuum Bio's goal tally this season. Do you want to guess?
1.
0.
He played against Inter at the San Siro.
Did he?
Him and Keane Davis were up top together.
Yeah, Keenan Davis is doing a lot better. I think he's one of their main men. I think he scored a penalty the other day. But I think off the back of kind of maybe Kipriani's form, that Lovric looks like someone. But surely if Semedo's going out on loan, we would need to get another striker in, no?
I mean,
especially if we're playing two up front.
Well, you instantly think, would you recall Bio? Because technically he's on loan, isn't he?
No, don't go there. Don't go there. You sound like Sam Yuko coming up with that.
Look, I'm trying to fill his void. He's not here, and I'm just trying to morph into Sam. Look, what I'd say is that your first thought instantly is, what would we do from Udinese? I mean, that's surely every Watford fan does that. Who have they got? Have they got a spare striker? Have they got a spare midfielder? He's technically on loan from Watford. I'm not saying I would do that, but I'm just saying I would not put it past Watford doing that.
They've got a Spanish striker up front called Bravo. He used to play for Real Madrid.
They have 5 strikers at the minute, don't they? They have 5 centre forwards.
Yeah, I think they're quite similar to us in terms of trying to get in as many wonder kids. But yeah, they've got a striker called Eco Bravo, whose market value is €5 million. I think he has scored goals at, I'm not sure what level. Youth levels, really. Could be another. Who's that Portuguese lad we got? Enrique Arouge.
Enrique Arouge, one of the most rogue footballers.
Yeah, surely if Semedo, that's my point. Surely if Semedo's going out on loan, we'd be getting a striker in, especially if we're playing two up front. And I think it's something that, I don't know if you've read Adam Drury's piece with Troy Deeney in the week. I know that was kind of looking ahead to the Birmingham game, but it's definitely worth a read. So make sure you check that out. I'll put a link in the comments for Adam. And he was saying, like, really likes Doumbia. You could see Kurum Guy's good finisher, but who they're learning off, what support they're getting. They're still both young. And I think that is the glaring profile that we are looking for, is a seasoned championship striker who could come in and help those lads and contribute goals. And when I'm looking at like Sheffield United, they've got Patrick Bamford, Danny Ings, Tyrese Campbell, loads of strikers they've got up front. And like West Brom, they've got Madger and Heckenberg and DK. It just feels like we're because I really like Doumbia and Kurum, but for a promotion, it's a side that wants to get promoted. Realistically, you're not going to do it with a 20-year-old and a 22-year-old. So, yeah, we can start getting noisy about January transfers, and that's going to be really interesting to see what Gino's motivations are, because if we are in touching distance and he's this hell-bent on Premier League and the vibes are better under Javi, you'd like to think he would find some more dice, go down to the dice shop and throw some more.
I honestly, Charlie, I don't think it's too outlandish to say. I think if we got in a striker who would instantly give us goals, I think we sort of go into that top 8 conversation quite quickly, and we are pushing for the playoffs. I do genuinely believe bringing in a striker of that quality, some would say that happens to every team, but I think particularly Watford, it really is a big piece of the jigsaw that's sort of missing at the minute. Anyway, and Troy makes a good point. Who are the guys learning from? You've got Dumbia's at 20, Kurumgor's at 22. You know, these are young lads learning their trade, and they need someone to learn off as well. So I think it's a really, really good point from Troy. We didn't really touch on the Preston game. I will just briefly mention it.
Speaking of strikers.
Speaking of strikers, Daniel Jefferson, that was incredible. I mean, the tweet afterwards was just incredible as well, when he's saying, "Hold that," and it was like, to be fair, if you get booed, I have no problem with a player giving it back. Absolutely no problem. But I do think it was weird that we've drawn the game and he's putting "hold that," and it's like, well, we've hold the draw. You know, it's not. It was hold that goal. But
firstly, I was just angry at myself that I didn't have a bet on it. Like the bank, the biggest banker going, when he scored, I was like, why have I not had a bet on it? You know that I'll always have an anti-bet to kind of soften the blow.
He looked different though, didn't he? He looked different. He looked sharp, and I was like, he didn't look like that for us.
Yeah, just confidence. Like we spoke about him when we signed, and we spoke to different people. Like, there's obviously a player in there, but just for whatever reason it didn't work at Watford, and that's fine. But yeah, and then I went on SofaScore when I looked at that Preston game, and he was player of the match. So that brought a tear to my eye. But it was going to be.
Do you know what, Charlie? Maybe this is controversial. I actually didn't think that was a bad point.
when you look at the Kurumgar miss when it hit the post.
Oh, yeah. So I'm saying, if you said to me before the game, would you take a point at Preston? I probably would. They were fifth in the league going into that under Heckingbottom. They've been decent this season. Bristol City had more of an issue. But Bristol City I had more of an issue with.
Where are your standards, Jacob? It's Preston.
But Preston, a point. We should have beat Bristol City. That was the one I totally agree with that one. We had to. But do you know what? I looked at that and I went Tuesday night at the Vic. I will say it was nowhere near. Obviously, we're not getting sellouts at the minute, but it wasn't a full Vic by any stretch. I think it was probably about 15, 16, but understandable on a Tuesday night at home to Preston. I don't know. The goal was soft though, wasn't it? It was actually, do you know what? Now thinking about it, I'm glad we kind of did it at the end because in a weird way, it was similar to Birmingham's first one yesterday, where it just clicked with me there. We're standing off the striker. We're not engaging with them. We're not engaging with that runner of the ball. And I don't know why that is. Is that a communication thing? Is that a formation thing? I don't know.
Yeah, it felt like did Caben get drawn out? There was a lot of space centrally and they just found a bit of space and fed it through. And we all know Jebo's what he's like in front of goal. Deadly, clinical. Jacob, Ashley Barnes, January.
Have you just been on Transfermarkt? Have you just gone free agents?
Yeah, I've got who you could bring in, but no.
Who says no?
No, I say no. I can't stand him.
But do we need a player like that?
I'd like someone a bit more mobile, but
his last spell was obviously he was at Burnley.
At Burnley now.
Was Norwich, wasn't it?
Did he go on loan to Norwich and do nothing?
He was there a couple of years, I think, and then he went to Burnley on a 1-year contract.
I'm sure
he's probably League One level now, I think.
Jacob's League One him off.
I think so.
Brighton, Burnley, Norwich, Burnley. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on Ashley Barnes, but let us know which striker we should sign in January. And if we have time over the festive period, maybe or in January we can do a video on it.
Agreed. Lovely goal by Doumbia, by the way, Tuesday.
Yeah, we played some really nice stuff when we were popping it about. We looked like Brazil at times, maybe 3 or 4 times. Now, I think there was some of the best football we played. Yeah. No, but there were times when we were popping it about and we looked decent, but that was a really nice move. But got to be beating Preston. Criminal to only get 2 points from Bristol City and Preston in my eyes.
I do agree with that. And I think that's where we'll probably leave it. A couple of reminders just to wrap up if you got to this point in the video, and if you're listening on audio, as always, we had some 5-star reviews on Spotify, which really does mean the world to us. I think we're 4.9 rating, which is so good. Really, really good to see. And obviously,
enough.
on iTunes as well, if you fancy it. If you're listening on audio, if you're listening on video, thanks so much for watching. The final thing to say is Men's Wealth World Cup. We've had quite a few questions about when that is. The details, more will be revealed on that. All we know is it will be in May time, obviously subject to the playoffs, which is not out of the question by any stretch, but it is all confirmed. The 2026 Men's Wealth World Cup will be taking place in partnership with the Men's Wealth World Cup, the Trust, and ourselves at WD18. We did it last year. Amazing day. If you want to get involved, all the links are in the description below. Really push on the corporate as well, right, Charlie?
Yeah, just on that, I wanted to mention that the opportunity. Obviously, we're going bigger this year, so there's going to be more teams, which has led to more opportunity for businesses, companies to enter a team. There's different packages in terms of whether you'd be up for sponsoring, which involves all sorts of things from dressing room, VIP experience to getting X amount of spectator tickets. First choice on the kits. If anyone saw the kits last season, they were unbelievable from Kelme. Or even if you just want to be a corporate team, it's a set fee instead of having to raise money. So loads of different opportunities. Have a look on the website to check that out. And we're going to be filming a video for that, just specifically with more details very soon. So that will be coming out in more details. Or if you're just not sure, just message one of us or in the WD18 DMs and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Top man. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, even though we were talking about a Watford defeat. Comment down below your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We really appreciate the support at the minute. And we will see you, Charlie, very soon. Probably 12:30 on Norwich. So probably Sunday night, potentially.
Can do.
Well, we're booking it in now. Take care, guys. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. Up the audits. You want.